In a way, I went to do my doctorate at Florida State University in 1971. So after a year and 9 months, somebody in Tennessee offered me a job. I had to go there. Then somebody called Shefali Sengupta applied for a doctorate in the same department, Florida State University, Urban and Regional Planning. She was admitted. Sachi, you must come and visit. You must come and meet the girl. You must come and date the girl. So we did, I did. And so in 75, we got married. And then in 76, we had a reception. I forget, March or April, whatever. And that's what my point is. And that's when Dr. McClure's wife had said, reminded Shefali, as we got married in India. So that when you come, please bring a sari for me. I want to wear sari. So this is, and she is there. So I just want to show you a 76 picture of Mrs. McClure, Mrs. Anne, and she's sitting in the middle on the back. So I thought I'll mention, because from their journey, this thing almost started. Because at marriage, in India, we found out we were refugees. We were driven out from our home of 500 years. I could go and still visit. And my wife was also driven out. And her mother died because of partition. And older sister became, I mentioned it, the head of the family who never married. So this was very common narrative of refugees from East Pakistan and Bangladesh. And so not only that, one time, after 2 or 3 months, so my wife, that time when she didn't marry, so she wore pants. Probably all of you know, in the 70s and 80s, all Indian girls who went to colleges and universities, they all wore sari. All wore sari. So in campus, we had 5 or 6 of them, they all wore sari. So one day, she got pants, she wore pants, and Dr. McClure told us, don't be ashamed of your identity. Your brain is which will take you there. And she had to, she again started wearing sari. Actually, she wore sari and taught at Alabama University, State University of New York, City University of New York, except when Harvard offered a postdoctorate degree in business, which she did. That's when they said, in business they will not tolerate sari. That's also, I consider it prejudice, but that's a different issue. But she wore, and then also, he is because my full name is Sachi. So my passport and everything, I wrote Sachi. But my parents called Sachi. So when I first met her husband, Dr. McClure, so he said very nicely, oh, you have a very nice name, but what does your parents call you? I said, Sachi. Oh, what's a nice name? And from that time onwards, everything in America is Sachi for now 2 years? So, except I have not changed the passport. So that's all, and she's there. So I thought I'll introduce you, and that's her husband. So before she leaves, I just wanted to give it to her. Just give us a big hand.
So we're at 6:30 Saturday. We'll begin. Request everybody to take their seat. So namaste everybody. everybody, and welcome to the IEEE event of Meet and Greet Sachi Dastidar Day.
Pass it on in case you want to write your
Sachi, this is very exciting. Likes to communicate with people here. So yeah, so today's event we are really blessed with Sachi coming down here and making this event happen. We are really thankful to Rajiv Vermaji from Houston who has made it happen, made this event possible. And we're also thankful to our IEEE team who have coordinated and made this event possible. And we have a agenda plan for today. We'll go through the agenda and we'll try to take it step by step over those processes. So without further ado, let me show you the agenda here. So today's agenda is at 6:30 to 6:45, or roughly 6:32, but from 6:30 to 6:45, we'll have a welcome and introduction of Sachi Ji by the IEEE team. First, we're going to have a welcome presentation for Sachi Ji, and after that, I'll do some introduction slides for Sachi Ji. Then at 6:45, I'll hand over the mic to Sachi Ji, and he's going to do his presentation. He's going to go through his material and bless us with his knowledge. At 7:30 to 8:15, there will be Q&A in this room. We request that you guys please keep your questions brief and don't follow up with another question so that Sachi Ji can reach out to as many people as he can. And at 8:15 to 8:20, Venkat Ji is going to present word of thanks. And 8:20 to 8:30, there will be a social interaction. Basically, you can relax, walk, take pictures with Sachi Ji, and ask any other questions that were not answered. But just it's the time that we want to just flex a little bit. And 8:30 to 9, we'll all are requested to move into the porch because this room needs to be left out for the IEEE team to start the cleanup. And even on the porch, we can have other question and answer sessions and also pictures, which are really important, which are the memories that like Sachi has been showing around there that always are left with us. And at 8:39, of course, it's cleanup. Little of the notations here, refreshments, samosa, chai, and water available. So please feel free and grab some, help yourself. There will be a QR code. I'm sure it's coming. I think we had some printer issues, but we'll be presenting a QR code on the snack table there. So it's there. Thank you, Toshin. But it's there already, so scan it if you'd like to make any book purchases or if you'd like to make any donations for IEEE, please go ahead and do it. The restrooms are on the hallway to your left, so anybody needs to use them, please feel free to go into the hallway. And last request is to please silence your cell phone. With that, I'd like to first call upon Venkat Ji to first welcome Sachi Dastidar Ji with a memento, and then I will do the introduction slide. Venkat Ji, can you please?
small token of appreciation.
Small token of appreciation
Thank
from
you.
us for coming down all the way to Austin to help us.
Thank you.
So going to the introduction part,
This one also, would you like to take some pictures for me?
Sachi Ji is like, he's an ocean of knowledge. There's hardly any way we can contain his introduction, his description in this couple of slides. But we still made that brave effort to put that in. So I'm going to go through that. If you missed any points, Sachi Ji, please forgive us for that. So Sachi Ji is a distinguished Indian American author, editor, professor, and social worker. He is known for his editorials, books on Hindu Holocaust in Bengal, Partition of India, and British rule during the pre-freedom era. Some of his personal background is like Sachi Ji is from a family of Hindu refugees, that came from East Pakistan, which is north of Bangladesh. He has visited his homeland multiple times, both India and Pakistan, but it depends based on the freedom of travel he had. He did that. His parents are very highly educated, but the crux of his speech today, the Holocaust or the partition, has left him with a poor start in his life. Due to his homelessness and displacement during the partition, he didn't have much school years during his early stages. He comes from a very educated family and a freedom fighters family. For example, his grandfather is a lawyer. Two of his uncles have been in prison for almost 17 years for the struggle of freedom of India. In spite of that, the harshness of or the cruelness of the partition is that they were, by the time they left their home, they were pretty much a broken poor. Going to his professional background, Sachi's already given a little overview, but I'm going to just list it out for the sake of it here again. He's a distinguished service professor at State University of New York. He finished his Bachelor of Architecture at Bengal Engineering College, Calcutta University, India. And he has an MCP degree, CFI, in IIT Kharagpur. I would like to say Indian Institute, but many people make connection with IIT, so he's passed out from IIT Kharagpur. And PhD, he has finished his PhD at Florida State University, USA. Some of his social work that he has achieved, accomplished. He's done a lot of work, but again, as we said, what we could gather, what we have captured from our broad information is he helped build like 11 schools and dorms in both Bangladesh and India. He helped students of like 33 schools for like poor orphans in both Bangladesh and India. And for other activities, he has been like a founder of Nassau Pathshala on Long Island, New York, the South Asia Forum, Corley, Robini Foundation, and there are many other social foundations that he was part of. The other side of his social work included the restoration of 500-year-old Vishnu Mandir, an ancestral village, and a 300-year-old mandir of Black Mother Kali that was demolished during the pogrom in the 1950s. So some of the awards that you see was like 2000. There was Fulbright awards were received to Kazakhstan, and in 2012 Fulbright award to Ireland. I would like to quickly list out some of his books, publications and books. So going to his publications, the Partition, which has been his main subject from the beginning, Partition Center Journal. He has published all the way from 2012 to 2019. There have been many publications from New York in October. He's very famous for that. Apart from that, the other noted publication that he did was Free to be Born Again, Partition of Indian Subcontinent, Islamism, Hinduism, Leftism, Liberation of the Faithful, and the Memories of Homeland, some of the noted ones, like the Refugees of 1947 Bengal Partition in India. Some of the books that we can talk about, such as A Bangla, O Bangla, this Bangla, that Bangla, and that's what I mean. Calcutta 300, Kolkata, Memoirs of Diverse City, Overseas Tribute to Calcutta on her Centenary, published in New York. AMR Desh, Central Asian General Management, Economics and Research, which was done in Kazakhstan. And Living Among the Believers. So these are some of the noted books. I mean, it's again, I have to say, I know I want to give opportunity to Sachi to speak, but it's this ocean of knowledge. We have to list them out and some of his great achievements that have brought him some fame on that. And so again, as I mentioned, it's really a pleasure to have a gentleman like Sachi over here, and for us, the generation here, which is again, I see that there's a diverse crowd, even for young children, maybe two, but they have showed up here to give us a piece of his knowledge. I thank Sachi for again taking this opportunity to go over his presentation. With that, I pass the mic on to Sachi, and I'll switch the slides to the Sachi.
Thank you very much, very much. So, put the slide up. And so, which one? Yes, in all of us. So yeah, so do that. So this is the book that he mentioned, Living Among the Believers, stories, one of the many books. Stories from somebody wanted to in India, somebody wanted to translate it to other language, and this is the journals we publish. We are very proud that we have received articles not only from America, but also from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Korea, and other countries who believe in social mixing and living together. So, thank you. So I thank human rights conscious Texas friends, especially Rajiv, Arvind, Vilika, Venkat, Rajesh, and Kaushik for inviting me to speak on such a life-sharing, painful event. I wish there were more activists like that. Truly, this is very important because it is breaking the fatalistic, sectarian, suicidal Hindu and Indian identity. I'm sorry, many of you could be offended, but that's how I feel. As the leaders are not from Bengal breaking our sectarian identity. The holistic identity is really great. I have received abuses, false narratives, and death threats for defending our families and for opposing our extremism. Fortunately, my family and friends supported me. This is a huge subject, and I can go on for days. However, born and growing up in a refugee family in Kolkata in 1960s, we supported left. But I realized their communalism after visits, communalism in America we call racism, after visits to our homeland. Most Indians do not know that there are 50 to 60 million Bengali Hindu refugees in India. And West Bengal and Tripura states were run by East Bengalis or East Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Indian, Hindu, Indian refugee Indians. I evolved into this situation as I visited our homeland and wrote about my experience and our hypocrisy. My parents were highly educated. In 1919, Ma stood first in school exam in today's Bangladesh. At that time, it was called Eastern Bengal. British divided Muslim Bengal and Hindu Bengal. That was Eastern Bengal. And Baba, my father, graduated in the first batch of Dhaka University in the 1920s, then got engineering degree from Glasgow University, yet had no money to send me to school for the first years, as they had to take care of refugee families, of uncles, aunts, and more. My wife's mother died because of partition as they found shelter in India. Her teenage sister became mother of the family, remaining bachelorette. This is very normal for refugee families. Most of you probably know. I will end this painful topic with a positive note, which you can be part of. After our first visit in 1982, we started to build schools and dorms there. Accidentally, all are run by the oppressed Hindu minority. Actually, not 11 in Bangladesh, we built 14 schools. We started by selling tea because raising money from Indians, donation is very, very hard. So, but people came forward. So, my journey depends as I started Rohini Foundation to help the poor and the orphan in Bangladesh, then West Bengal, Assam, and Mizoram. We have built 14 schools and dorms in Bangladesh and 2 more for oppressed Buddhists in Christian majority Mizoram. Altogether, we are helping 33 schools. Let me invite you to join our ISPAT, Indian Subcontinent Partition Document Project. As I mentioned, please write your name for our journal and newsletter. And confront censorship of destruction of our families and homes. And help us, if you can, like Milita, Arvind, Rajiv, and Mukti. These are the people who live in Texas, but has been sending money to me to help build the schools. Milita has translated 2 of our books with his own money and published in India, for local people can read it. Now she's doing this translation of this one in India in her own money. I have to just give permission. Yes, you can do it. So we're very, Arvind has been giving monthly donation to us so that we can help poor and other people. So if you can afford, please do so. because raising money is hard. Please give me your address and email, as I mentioned, for Partition Center. I'll try to go fast so that we can have some time for question and answer. But you're welcome to ask questions as I proceed. Let me use slides to cover such vast world neglected issue, but more importantly, censored by sheltered victims in India, plus left and right, both in India, America, and the world. Would you be surprised if I tell you that over 3.1 million Hindus have been murdered since Bengal's partition in 1947? The term Holocaust, originally I wasn't there. This book is published in India. They chose it is faster than killing rate of Holocaust in Europe. That happened in 9 months. They killed 3 million people, but not one has been held responsible. So, okay. So, and if I tell you that over 1 million Hindus have been killed since partition in 1947, would you be surprised if I tell you that over 50 million minority Hindus are missing from Pakistan, Bangladesh from 1941 to 2001 census? By 2020, it is easily over 60 million placed. Would you be surprised if I tell you that every single nation around India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Tibet has killed or cleansed its Hindu minority, at times Sikhs, Jain, Buddhist, Christian, and Muslim minorities for India without any protest from us? This is awful. In the midst of genocide, I was able to find some life-turning events, so I will end with the positive notes. It is worth mentioning that I started this journey in 1982 with my entire family without babies. That helped me a lot. In addition, we never afraid of Muslims, Muslim terrorists, and in every situation in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, or Burma, we never hid our ethnic or religious identity. That was a blessing. The extermination of Bangladeshi Hindus is unparalleled in human history, yet rarely mentioned in Bengal, India, and the world. Why? After Jogendra massacre, 3 million were killed in 1971 in Bangladesh. In only 9 months, a very high rate of per day killing rate. Yet, no Pakistani, no Islamist was tried. Pakistan, Muslim majority nations, UK, Canada, and US gave asylum to mass Hindu murderers. Our Nixon administration sent 6 fleet to Bay of Bengal to support the genocide. We often forget. Why no one complained? I call this Hindu disease or polytheistic amnesia, as most of the victims were Hindu minority. Hindus did not and do not protest. This is sad, shocking, anti-living thing. Even a docile cow fights back if you take her calf, but we do not. I'm glad that many Bangladeshi secular Muslims are demanding genocide recognition. There is a group in the US asking for our Congress to recognize genocide. Please help them. Let me walk you through slides at a fast speed. Last slides will have our project address and tribute to Sri J. Hyman, a Jew who cared for us. I wish had more people like J from our persecuted community. I believe as a minority, we must establish full rights with support of the majority. Please note that all pictures are taken by me. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Let me end by inviting you to join our Partition Documentation Center. We published this journal, we ran out of it, so I'm going to present just one copy to your organization here. And by giving me your email and phone address, we are now rebuilding a 1700s Kalibari destroyed during 1950 program. Please help us. And lastly, we are building a partition museum in New York. Please join us, help us. So I can go on, but let me go quickly through this. Thank you. So this is the, I hit enter, right? So as you see, this is the first book, Empire's Last Casualty. The second one, the one you are buying here, as an updated version of that. That also has some people just want to buy just for the appendix. And so, Living Among the Believers, I showed you. The other book, Mukti Free to Body, there are 2 editions. This is published here in America. And this has received the highest rating by readers and reviewers. And this has been a torture for us. Since it was published, almost every single day we have received dozens of phone calls from various publishers, promoters, movie makers, and all these things. They want to do more things. My journey began here on this. Accidentally, it was published, probably they knew, on the August 15, 1989. It calls A Bangla, O Bangla, means this Bengal, that Bengal. And as you know, August 15 is a very important day. That day, India was partitioned. And on that day, the very next day, I was flying from Delhi to Lahore. That's a different story, how even I got that. They will give me the visa, but I am not a guy to give up, so I just went into their consulate in New York, because I had Indian passport, not my wife and daughters. So actually, the consul general came out, very nice. And he said, I said, why are you going? I said, to visit. He says, you're the first Hindu who is going there to visit. Because he didn't say that. But other people say most Hindus are very afraid, coward, or whatever you want to. Other people are used to it. So, anyway, these are the memoirs homeland. These are the, this is called A Bangla, O Bangla. This Bengal, this came out of the book. And every newspaper in Bangladesh and India and West Bengal and Tripura commented on this book. This is the first time somebody is raising this issue. The garbage attack on me, that's that. So, there are 2 books are coming soon. March of America's Hudson River with India's Ganga. And because this is, I finished it, and I'm negotiating for publisher. For 2 things, because we started with my son. So next is, did you realize, I mentioned already on the left side, that for all states, Pakistan on the left, as you see, there's a blue arrow, that is Tibet, then Nepal, then Bhutan, Bangladesh, Burma on the east, Sri Lanka, every single nation has ethnically cleansed us. Yet, we have no brain, we do not protest. Think about, I do not want, but if there were 10 people, Muslims or Buddhists were driven out of India, all Buddhist nations, all Muslim nations would go to the United Nations or demonstrate in India or outside. I'm with them. But, so this is us. So this is Pakistan, Hindu guy, joined, supported India's partition, Jogendra Mandal. But he was the first law minister, but he had to, after 2 years he resigned and then came to Bengal and he documented 10,000 people were killed in his resignation letter. Yet, this is the contradiction of India, that he came in the very next year he ran for parliamentary seat. Do you think America do that? They declared decline or destruction of America, and then comes next year and because he was citizen of Pakistan then, and comes very next year and runs for Indian Parliament or American Senate. Unthinkable for any nation, but that's India. So this is now, this is during a trip in Borishal, in this rural part of Bangladesh. On the left is a guy who is a Muslim guy. He says, Uncle, please take me to this, next to this Durga Sagar Lake. When after partition, were hundreds of, I do not believe in caste. I consider it a kind of racism. So I use oppressed people. Oppressed peasants were bringing Hindu peasants and asked to convert. When they didn't, they were beheaded right there. So he says, Uncle, but no book reports it. So on the right hand side, Bhairab River Beach, The road bridge is very recent. Before it was only the on the backside is train river. From 47, trains were stopped. So then people, thugs, would go and find out who are Hindus, often try to kill them, and drop them into the river so that they don't survive. We have a channel called Ishpat 1947 on YouTube. You will go, there are two people at least who survived, one Dr. Payne, one Dr. Dasgupta, who train was stopped and then they came to them, they jumped, how they survived. But this is how we are not, and loss of Hindu minority on the right hand side, which is small. So you see 49 million sent from the census. It is a census that in 1940, from Bangladesh census, 47 partition, which is Pakistan, what was the population? And then Bangladesh was the 5th largest country. But now it had more people than Pakistan today when they were joint nation. But now Pakistan has over 5 or 10 million people than Bangladesh because of the loss of Hindu minority. So, and 1.4 million to 3 billion that I see table in the book you have. I believe it was 3.1 million. That was the high estimate that were killed. Hindu homes, paddy fields, they are confiscated. Pakistan has a law called Enemy Property Act. It's still there, where they can only declare Hindu minorities an enemy of the state, and then a new person can walk into your home. That happened to our home. That home was new home for 500 years, and you become homeless. So it is still there in the law. They can apply to if they're Muslim, even they're anti. So Bangladesh founder Mujibur Rahman was murdered by Muslims. Yet no property could be taken out through their any property because he was Muslim. So I mean we have to know. In 1964 there was an anti-Hindu Hazrat called Genocide, and these are the pictures on the left. You see in Pakistan was a ban to say something. Still Bengali papers are doing negative. They are saying that why are they killing people and are not allowing us to say something. On the left, on the right, it is Washington Times. New York Times didn't print anything. It was a genocide, hundreds of thousands of people killed, mostly peasants of oppressed Hindus. But in this one, it says 1,000 people were killed on the very first day. They didn't say. This is the loss of population by census analysis adjusted with the growth rate. So that's what you come to, almost 49 million. And this is the population. We were 30% of the population. We are down to 13%. Now, this year, they published we are 7%. So we had that 6% in world's 7th largest nation. Actually, the 49 million loss, that is larger than 160 nations in UN membership. Yet, we do not protest. And so this is the Pakistani genocide started. On the left is the Ramna Mandir, 9th century. You see that little green is the remains of the Kali temple.
Dr. Sachi, can I ask a quick question? Of the 49 million, have some migrated to India?
Almost all.
Okay.
Almost all.
So, okay.
Yeah, that's why West Bengal's 90 million population, in my estimate, 1/3 is refugee. We call refugee, is Bengali. So that's 33 million. And Tripura's 2/3 are refugees. And then if you go to UP, 1 and 2 million, Bihar, 2 to 3 million, you can add, it's just very easy. Yeah. So, and on the left is it was headed by Malik, a Muslim gentleman, who had a commission to see what was done to them. And you could read, it's so brutal how they murdered 100 devotees and poor residents, Hindu residents who came to the temple for overnight stay. I just, yeah. So this is the beginning of Pakistani genocide. Dhaka University's Jogendra Hall, which is a hall for minorities. There's a tablet of 64 people, students killed. And that's the beginning. Yet there's a, if you see the link, there's a Muslim professor who took video of how they're taking and martyring people. Yet, at least Bangladesh has put these things in their memory. I'm sorry, if this was India, probably wouldn't have done that. This is in Prabartak Ashram. I went to see, as you can see, 13 men, 1 Hindu, 13 Hindu men, 1 Hindu woman, 1 Muslim man was murdered because they were there. This is from New York Times. In 42, 100,000 killed, 10,000 killed. Yet, how many of you have protested? Sorry, I don't want to. You feel guilty. But why not? I was cursed by people, but I take it as an honor. I mean, so Pabna, a minister who became minister in Bangladesh, was very proud that I killed five Hindus and 1 Muslim, secular Muslim, and he becomes a minister. And then we have in Comilla, see, Pakistan used the word extermination. So they had a commission, yet Hamidur Commission. That's why they asked, "Well, did you use the word extermination of Hindus?" Of course, Niazi said no. Of course, Guru said yes. But actually, in my neighborhood in Queens, in 1990s, there was a gas pump pumping my gas. He asked me, "Where are you from?" I said, "Bengal." He said, "Which Bengal?" I said, "I never knew somebody who knows there was 2 Bengal." Then I said, "Why were you there?" He said, "It's Pakistan." I said, "Why?" "To kill Hindus." He told me, "Woto hotai hai." It means that always happens. He was sent specifically telling him. So we had discussions, but he was honest. And this is also, at least I thank Indira Gandhi, that there were these 65 Hindu families who all male members was murdered. So only mothers and children survived. She gave shelter. This is Haryana. So when I heard, I went there to see them. They were very happy that somebody for the first time coming to see them. Rajshahi. So see, Christians and Jews, sorry, not Jews, Buddhists were not attacked. So many Hindus took shelter, in this case, a Catholic church. And when the Muslims came to take these away, this Hindu preacher gave 85 boys and men, ages 17 and 60, to Pakistani killers, and they were killed right there outside. When my minister friend, Christian ministers, he is a very, very stopped. When he sees this, he was very active. Anyway, or Organization of Islamic Countries nominee, he said he was very proud that he murdered 13 Hindus in his own hand. How many of us protested and why not? I have a bad habit of writing letters and protesting. I got very, very good result in many cases. We'll talk about it. Not all of them. So Hindikulam Time magazine says, on the very first Hindu account, Muslim soldiers in East Pakistan will snatch away a man's lungi to see if he is circumcised, obligated to Muslims. If not, it usually means death. So this is, it was from Western paper. So Parliament Dhirendra Datta, he is the guy who in Pakistan was the first time to propose that in Pakistan Bengali should be an official language, because most of the Pakistanis after 47 spoke Bengali, because East Pakistan was majority. 71 during Pakistani, the way he was killed and tortured, you don't want to read it. I mean, his body couldn't be found. I interviewed, if you go to YouTube, I interviewed his granddaughter. So, post 71, see how it continues. A dark core on the left is Birajbala Debnath and family. very, very poor, maybe earning maybe $10, $15 a month for 7. So the Muslim group ordered him to leave and go for India. He said, this is my land. I'm living for thousands of years. Why can I go? Then whole family was picked up, took it to a river shore. They brought drum and then slaughtered each one into small pieces. They can fit into the drum. This was given to me by a Muslim friend. Said, Sachi Dastidar, you must go and visit. So when I went to Pakistan, Bangladesh, I did go to, and so when I went to Dhaka, I looked for somebody who could take me there, which is about 2 and 3 hours drive. I found a Muslim taxi driver. He says, Uncle, I'm going to take you there. No problem. I'm from the same village. And he took you. At least there's a memorial there of 7 people. I'm not saying it's, and I had to offer my, so when I went there, I said I have to offer my, I did. And then, but in India, in Calcutta, within hundreds or 150 yards of my home in Baliganj, which is one of the more developed areas of educated people, 20 or 22 Hindu monks and nuns were murdered in broad daylight. Not one has been convicted yet. Not one memorial has been established. So, go figure out. So this is 1992 program. I visited from village to village. It is very painful, so I'm not going to show you many. On the left is 90 program. When you go, see these people standing there, 100, 200 years old, that's what is remaining. What can you do? What do you do? Even 100 takas, 100 rupees or 500 rupees you have, you even don't feel like if you give what, anyway. And then on the right hand side, 92 pogrom, they were destroying cremation areas. I visited 6 of them. So they said Hindus would not be allowed to cremate, they would not be allowed to bury. I'm not going to tell you what they say, what they do with their bodies. And this is Shrikanta Rakshit. This guy touched my feet when he was maybe 16, 17. They're living in Chittagong in their own house for 400 years. And then they have some land and others. They were ordered. Father is a lawyer, an author. They were asked to keep that property under Enemy Property Act to one of the political leaders. When they refused, they kidnapped the boy and beheaded and sent the head to the mother. This is what happens. So this is when I picked up the phone. I wrote papers and I wrote to our congressmen, senators, and their president and prime minister. Finally, when our congressman went there and met the family, then Bangladesh prime minister did a trial, and 8 people were ordered to death, and another 12 up to 20 years in prison. I'm not saying that's a good thing because we could save the boy, but at least fighting has given some results. So next is you'll see something. This is our ancestral home of 1500s. We saved on the left the shrine of Sri Vishnu. My older brother, after we went in 1882, I told that this is very, he did. On this picture here, this is the man with the long beard, who took over our property. On the back building you see, that's ours. And on the bottom one, when you see, in traditional area, when the villages, when uncles and aunts were getting married, they were built a new building where they live. So those would also belong to our extended family. They're all wiped out. And on the right is our grandparents, maternal grandparents family, who were the ones very politically active. grandma spent many times in prison just for saying Vande Mataram, long live the mother, because British banned that music, that song. Yet we do not. Anyway, so we went there. There are people who welcomed us. And this is my first win in Bangladesh, is this temple in 1992. They tried to come and destroy the shrine, 350 years old. Now it's almost 380 or 90 years old. And then I wrote to Bangla, many people, including Bangladesh president. President wrote back to me, yes, it will be shrine. It will be done. And on the right-hand side is, see, on the top section, is the building we built called Niyarkana Bhaktabasha Vidyalaya, named after, means Niyarkana, home for the devotees and school. And the down is, as you can see, my wife in sari, and the man on the left is the one who occupied their maternal ancestral home. So this is the shrine we built. On the left side, with all this may be one of the real first revolutions in Bangladesh, that somebody is building something new, that thing. They were doing Bit Puja or foundation laying. There is a Muslim also in this picture. And this is the building on the left, is one of the dormitories we built. On the right is Gandhi Ashram, which was also attacked, and all the devotees, saints, they were or murdered by Pakistan, and afterwards we have built things there. I'm going fast. On the left is the dormitory we built. On the right, as you see, there are other buildings we are opening. So it can be done. And these are the standard tablets we built. They have built that names of the people, a certain amount when they gave, we put their names. So I'm very disturbed and honored. On this left is this, people have built schools and colleges named after us without asking us. And when we say, and on the left, as you see, they have put pictures of my wife and me in many places next to deities. Because they said, after 47, nobody else came to us. You know. And on the left-hand side, is Mizoram. Mizoram, we are helping the Buddhist school and dormitory. There, Mizoram has declared it's a Christian state, but their Christians have created a lot of oppression there. They are not able to buy any property in the capital. I can go on. And this is the standard thing. On this one, on the left, the blue one, you would have two Muslim gentlemen. One gave, I think, $16,000 or $18,000 to build one of our dorms. Other gave almost $5,000 or $6,000. Because each building, it cost us $20,000, $30,000. To raising money with 50 cents tea selling, you have to drink a lot of tea. People came forward. So I'm very, very honored. And so these are the things. Now, on the left is the dedication of the 1500 Sri Vishnu Mukti. In 2001, when the structure was destroying, we built it, and the monk on the back is rededicating. And the lady in the front, who comes from an oppressed family, oppressed Hindu family, I suggested the monk to ordain her to become the priestess, and he did. I'm very grateful because I do not believe in sexism or these other reasons. And on the right is the shrine we are trying to build, which was 1700s, the Kalibari of our Black Mother. So these are our contact information. Please write down if you have, or ask me later on. We could do. So how do I go to the next one? So I want to just very quickly end with little positives, and then I would ask you for, yeah. Okay, so I want to do the positive thing here. So in my life, I find there are things that happen to me which turn my life around. for better. So one of the first one is this is 82 when we went to our visit ancestral home. So I am very blessed with a lot of. This is the guy on the back. You see, is a Muslim gentleman. When we bought the ticket at the overnight river ferry, and I was asking some question to the ticket collector, he heard. Then he came, and our little kids were playing outside. When our kids are here, one holding, my wife is holding the baby, and then the girl is here. So he asked, where are you staying? Who are you going to stay? I said, I don't know. I have to find out. He said, you do not know my country. You cannot do that. So what did he? So I said, I have to go. I went into the ship, and in the evening he came with his daughter, this little daughter, Julie, and him, Abdul Rahman, says, I am here to protect you. All night he went there. Then from the river port of Barishal to come to our village, it took 4 hours something. He was with us, protecting me. Just think about how many of us would do if somebody is going from here to New York to protect somebody from New York's terror. So you have people like that. So I have my hats off. And also this gentleman, one of the high-class Hindus I have ever seen, Rakhal Sadhu. He is so poor, yes, because of him, Hindus are surviving. Because he gave leadership. If people beat him, he says, I am not going to leave the country. So, and there are others I can go on forever. And as you saw this picture before, this is the gentleman who confiscated our home. And this is our journey. On the left is when 82, when our 1500s Sri Vishnu temple was like this. Temple was destroyed during pogrom, but luckily the granite statue did. So later on, my Mesda, older brother, Amitabha, went and built this temple on the right, and so this is the picture you saw on the left and right. This gentleman is a priest, I think Arunabha Mukherjee or something. He wrote such an emotional letter, and one of my white American colleagues in New Bengal, he translated and distributed on campus, because we have not seen such a thing, you know. And this is, so in 90, as I said, on the building on the back is the temple, which they came to destroy, and I wrote to Bangladesh, President wrote, we are going to fix it. So in 1996, I got the letter from President's office that they are going to fix it. So I went to tell them. And this gentleman, bare-chested, is Rakhal Sadhu, the monk, and the wife, and his mother. They recognize me that I'm walking down the street. And they all, these are, I call them high-class Hindu, if there was such a term. They know 100 times more of philosophy than I do. They all of a sudden started kirtan, singing, God has landed from heaven. Because they could never think that temple would be rebuilt. You know. So that's why it is really heart-charming. You saw this picture, which is heart before. You saw this picture before. This one is heart-charming. So as my wife went to her ancestral home, maternal home, they were advanced. I walked slowly from the back taking pictures. These three gentlemen, Mahendra Gharami, Subhash Kulu next, and Navin Kulu. At that time they were only there. They were putting soil on the palm boroj, we call the place of raising the palm leaf. When they saw me, first thing asked, for the first time in my life, somebody asked religion. He says, Uncle, are you Hindu? I said, yes. Immediately they jumped. There was a little narrow, like drain for going water. Immediately they jumped. he says, "Uncle, can I touch you?" I said, "Of course, but why?" They said, "We get strength." So immediately they went and washed their hands and came running, wanted to touch my feet. I said, "No, let them rest." And they started crying. That left me, even today, such a heartful that the middle class who had painful things, they left. But yet the people we left behind, we never even helped them. That touching us finds strength. I mean, I had hats off to them. Every time I go, I find out. This is another, we helped many orphanages. This one orphanage in Gandhi Ashram in Noakhali. So that woman's husband was a rickshaw puller or something, died. So they had no income. The guard was staying in the hostel there. We were giving probably from here $25 a month. So they wrote to us. The mother said, "I have no income. Can I get that money? And so that I can feed my children. But I promise that I'll send my son and daughter to the school, not the dormitory." So 2-3 years down the road I went. This guard on the left comes running and touching my feet from the back. Say, "Grandpa, I have finished high school. Now I'm going to college. And I'm giving tuition," means individual lesson. "And I am earning money, I can support my family." I still get chills thinking that how this little money has saved families. Some of us spend more money just having coffee, This is changed life because this is that village I mentioned. Before that, they stayed in another village called Gaba, where our family history goes to almost 40 generations. When we went there, this lady is one of the Sachi Dastidar family left, and then we figured out there were 27 generations from that family and my son. So it actually changes your thinking in life. You saw this picture, I'm not going to mention. You saw this picture. Now, when you visit in 1919 Pogrom, places like this, what do you think you can do? What would be your feeling? Even if you have money, I mean, everything is gone. Many pictures, but it changes your life. And this picture you saw of Dhaka University Hall, you saw this picture, you saw this picture, you saw this picture, and I'm jumping 4,000 miles to Pakistan. So, Shifa, my wife, as you see in sari, and me in this Indian shirt, we were to Peshawar University conference. At the conference, one of these guys come and journalist and says, "Dr. Dastidar, I want your help. We have a pre-Islamic temple in Peshawar. We want to take it from the occupiers and make it a temple. And my job was to write to, they gave me a list of people, Prime Minister, Home Minister, Chief Minister, Governor of this. And so I did, and I wrote to them. Then I was in August, I wrote that in October. In April, he writes that they have started repairing the building. And then they gave it to very small Hindu minority, very poor, Kakaram and Lila Devi. The first Diwali since 2047, first Diwali. And apparently Buddha came there too. If that is true, it's at least 600 BC old. So actually, if you go to my blog, Empire plus Casualty, you'll find a lot more detail, or all of these things. And that time, you see how good people there are. This lady and this lady is a professor, Nabila, at one of the universities in Peshawar. Lahore, Peshawar, we were coming to Lahore. So we were sitting in the express bus on the other side. She was, every few minutes she says, "Uncle, you have to come stay in our home." I said, "Listen, I don't know you, I know." And we already have a hotel reservation and all that. So half an hour before we get off at Lahore, she says, "Uncle, I have cancelled your hotel. You have to come stay with us." So yes, we stayed with them. We visited other places. We took them. On the left is we call them Didi, is the mother of the family. So we have these people. And this is Shikanto Rokshit I mentioned before, where I wrote this letter. And this is from the newspaper, from Daily Star, about the killing and everything. So this changes your life, really. And you can go into Impartial's casualty blogspot. We have over 300 articles there. Many of you, if you write articles, you can also give us for posting. We'll be happy to. You can join as a, I think they call member or supporter. You can sign up there so that if there isn't change, we can do that. And this is our contact information. Who did it? One more thing I want to do. I just want 1 more minute.
Yeah,
Just. So, I have one more. You come here. So this is what we are doing. Fixing this temple of 1700s. If you can, please help us. We are raising money. I've already sent about $6,000-7,000. We will raise a little more. So, just one line want to show. But if this one, that's all. Yeah. So. So I just want to show you, this is about a blog about this book that you saw. But what I am really moved is that there is this release in India overnight. So there was a display not display, book reading in New Jersey. But this is, see this guy, Diego Alvarez writes. He says, "I don't know you." There's a translation in English, telling that how your book has changed my life. How my grandparents were murdered in 46, yet my parents became communists not to teach us. So you can read it. It's in the blog. And very recently, and there are many others. As you can see, I'm rushing. And very recently, this is another guy who wrote that same thing. He wrote from Bengaluru that how your book has changed my lifestyle, life. His name is Sanatana Dasa. So I'm, and then just one professor wrote me back. I'm finding that more young people are now really has moved and thinking about what mistakes their parents did. With that, I'll end. So let me know what questions and comments and suggestions you have. This is the journal as I showed you. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions or comments.
Let's probably do it with raising hands.
Yes. Oh,
She's saying bye.
okay, thank you.
Bye.
I miss you. Thank you. So, this is, as you can see, it's not a. It's when you get involved, it's painful. Yeah.
So you mentioned that number one, it was extremely difficult to raise funds from Indian Hindus.
Shrini, could you speak up a little louder?
Yeah, you said that.
Mike.
Pass the mic.
Mike.
No,
That's okay. I'll raise my voice.
Yeah, he has a good voice.
Okay.
Yeah. You said that it was very difficult to raise funds. And secondly, Indians, I don't know whether it is, Indians or Hindus don't protest. Why do you think, from your research, from your experience, and from your personal experiences, why do you think that happens?
Listen, I do not want to say that. Go there. No, I have given interview. Unfortunately, I now even sorry, you will be offended, but I do not even consider Hindus to be living beings.
Sorry, what?
Living beings.
Oh my goodness.
If a cow, as I mentioned, if you take this calf, it fights back. We had at home, we had many pigeons. As is, when they have babies or eggs, if you go nearby, mother, father fights you. And when I grew up in southern Calcutta, next to what was a ditch or whatever, when there was a snake hole, when they had babies, if you go nearby, the mother is whispering, trying to fight you. What has happened, I don't know. Remember, on the other hand, if you're a true Hindu, if you read Gita, Sri Krishna is teaching Arjuna to fight even your guru. Why it happened, you have to tell me.
Did Ahimsa has to do anything with it?
What?
The non-violence teachings of Mahatma Gandhi?
Listen, I wouldn't say that. No, because it happened before that. And it may not be proper, I also blame on 1,000 years of slavery of Turkic, Persian, Arab, Islamic rule, and 200 years of European, English Christian rule. But that doesn't mean, but then why are you reading Gita then? Gita is teaching that you fight against your guru.
If the guru is wrong. It's not saying.
Yes. Yeah, right. Of course, I didn't mention, you understand that. Why you do?
Comparing Gita with the last 1,000 years, I don't know how relevant it is, but Hindu word is very vague, right? So it's not, Gita didn't give us Hindu.
No. By the way, to me, as far as you
Hindu
know,
word came from last 250, 300 years ago.
but Hindu word is no.
Okay, everybody, if you don't mind, please, let's
So,
questions and get ready.
but the Hindu word doesn't come from Hindu literature.
Yeah.
It's no word.
Yeah.
It is a geographical term.
Right.
From Indus River, which Persians told Hindu river, that was Sindhu River, they called Hindu. From there, it went to the west as the area of the people they called Indus, to India. And so that's why when you go to old countries, like as I did, if you go to Egypt, or you go to old countries like I've gone to not Afghanistan, Yemen, and other places. They all call Indians Hindustani. The word comes from there because the word Hindu is not there in any Indian literature.
Yeah.
It is afterwards. Having said that, we have identified as that. That doesn't mean we should be giving up of become self-destructive. We shouldn't be complaining when your parents. I went to interview a guy whose mother, father, grandparents, brother, sister, uncle were burned to death during 1946 British rule, Noakhali Pogrom, Noakhali Genocide. Yet he wouldn't say a word. This is what's there. I said, if there is not there, then what is there in you? Okay, let me take yours, then I'll... Yeah.
You heard a question?
I have. So
Your name first.
Yeah, my name is Christian.
Yeah, so everybody knows. Yeah.
So my question is again, there is we also know, the world also knows something called the Jewish Holocaust. Now they have been, it's not something an appreciation of them, but they have been very successful in having their Holocaust recognized by almost most corners of the world. How would you contrast that with Hindu Holocaust? And where did you see
the lackings that we could not get that level of
So, a very good question. So, we are trying to build a museum in New York. We already have our Partition Center is one floor. Basement is, we have a museum. We want to spend more money, make it more modern. So, we have to do it if the government doesn't come up. Yeah. So that's my feeling.
what lacking did you see?
Lacking, as I said, our identification. One of the very big problem there is in India, we do not identify as Hindu, as Indian. What I mean, when every nation around India were driving out their people, when Sri Lanka drove out the Hindus and some Muslims, Tamils to India, rest of India didn't bother. They said, oh, they're Tamils. When Bengalis were driven out by the millions, rest of India, oh, they're Bengalis. The identity, I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. When Burma drove out Hindus and Christians and many Muslims to India, we say, oh, that's Burmese. So we do not have a unified identity. But that's why I'm very proud of yours that all of you come to discuss about this. Because you're identified as a Hindu, as as Indian. Because word India Hindu is really two sides of the same coin. Because when in New York, when there was a Kali Puja, they said it was a Hindu festival, not or Indian festival. So yeah, I'm not saying what I'm saying is 100% you'll agree, but that's how I see it. Yeah, you first.
Swati ji, please. Anand ji, Swati ji.
I'm Anand.
Oh.
So I have two questions for you. So one is, some of these things, right, like you talked about people not unifying and essentially identifying. So I feel that when it's almost like complaining that there is no well when your house is on fire, when you don't have water to put the fire out. So that means the job of unifying has to be done beforehand, and then only you would have the unity when you need it. So do you think at least some of the problem is that the Indian elite hasn't done that?
Maybe what you're saying, maybe it is what you're considering, but India or Hindus are not dictatorial thing that you can force people to follow, as Iran can do, China can do, Saudi Arabia can do. Because even I'm just saying, even Durga Puja celebration, what is done in Bengal.
I'm not saying that the government should do, but my point is that this. More about the intellectual part of India, they have to first recognize. So I'll just give you one simple example. So whenever things are given from the West, people just accept it without critical thinking. And I have a very simple way to demonstrate it to people. I just give them a truth about World War II. I tell them just 4 things. This guy that I'm talking about is a great orator, even if you don't like him. Second, his side put people in concentration camps. That's the second truth. The third thing is he was directly responsible for, by his direct action, even though he didn't go and personally kill people, he was directly responsible for millions of people dying. Can you guess who the person? And every one of those persons will say it is just Hitler. Whereas my 3 criteria precisely fit Churchill. The problem is, a lot of the poorer parts of India, Hindus, they just don't have the bandwidth to go and read up on these kind of things and understand. But I feel like our elite.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you. See, how many times we have asked for even after death trial of Churchill. Do you know that Churchill murdered or forced to 3 to 7 million Indians in Bengal, creating a famine when there was a bumper crop?
Yeah.
He took all the crop and then destroyed over 60,000 boats. So that in Bengal, everything in the coastal area is the largest delta, you go by boat only. So, but
And then you know, on the side note, when Mizoram people are writing this, you know, why, if what you are saying is true, why isn't Gandhi tested? That was his response. When Mizoram people, European people, British people were told to them.
absolutely, no.
So,
There is actually,
and people in India still hold Sachi with that idea.
No. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Ishpat 1947, you see there is a East Asian looking young lady talking about India's oppression by England and mentioning how they took $43 trillion from there. And that consciousness is not there. Before I go, she had a question.
Yeah, it's just about the property thing, like you left your ancestral property behind. So do you have any resentment towards Indian leadership that they didn't do any buck, like they did for Muslims going to Pakistan or Bangladesh? They made their property under buck thing, but
Yes,
they did nothing for
I do, but I have more anger with the Islamist regime because they are the first one. Next one is India, what they do. That's no question. But on the other hand, I'll tell you, did you know that after partition, India created one of the most racist laws in India called Nehru-Liaquat Ali Treaty. Do you know that?
That was 1950 treaty.
What was the treaty? That those who are coming from Pakistan, or Western Pakistan, they would be rehabilitated, not us. Bengali coming from East Pakistan will not be rehabilitated. That's why when they found property anywhere, Punjabis were settled there, not the Bengal. I cannot imagine a nation with doing that. By the way, there were two Bengali ministers, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and K.C. Yogi, both resigned. And then Nehru took him to Kashmir to murder him. But that's we are. And by the way, that was in West Bengal, or Tripura state, Bengali speaking, the left was rising, they did protest. So this is the contradiction. Now, before you.
I think he will be.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just wanted to. My name is Krishna Mohan. Krishan brought up that, right? Why Jews and not us? I had this. I don't think we are good in marketing. I think I'm 55 years old. This is the first time I bought this book, right? So talking about Hindu Holocaust. I'm sure there's a lot of material, but we never knew about it. But whereas if you look at the Jews, right, wherever you go, even in a small meetings like this, they always somehow bring that Holocaust into the meeting. They discuss it. We have seen Schindler's List with our kids many times, but never discussed, right? Anything to do with the partition or Hindu Holocaust, things like that. So I think we should propagate. Propaganda should be there. There should be a lot of marketing to it.
I'll just add one point to that, sir. You need, as a community, you need a political power. And if you don't have political power, you're going to be victim shamed all the time.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think the lady there asked about, is ahimsa the reason? It is the reason. We've been taught that we are a pacifist set of people. People tell you ahimsa paramo dharmaha. So the second sentence is himsa dharmo tathaivacha. Meaning, if you don't act in violence against people who are offending dharma, that's equally important.
How did people forget?
Humble request to everybody. Sachi is here. Let's ask him questions.
Yes.
We have more socializing hour later, but let's get that knowledge out of him quickly.
So Sanjay ji had a question.
My question, so I fully understand what you're saying. I'm a recent refugee, if you can call it. I'm from Kashmir. We left in '89 and left everything. The question I had was, what next? And I think the big thing that is coming out, the theme, what I have realized is that our true history has not been taught to the people of India. The people that are in the country, I don't think they have heard about your books, they have heard about what has happened? Because when I read the, Rajeshji, when he forwarded that, I wasn't sure, is this 47, is this 71, it is all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, and in Kashmir, we talk as Kashmir Pandits, we always talk about the 7 different exoduses or pogroms that we have gone through. There have been hundreds in between, but we talk about the 7 because 7 seems to be a number that everybody likes. It's a marketable number, right?
Yeah.
But I think the point I'm trying to make here is, I'm sorry, is how do we, galvanize ourselves? You mentioned you need somebody in political power. How do we get the people of India educated with the true happenings? And you don't have to go 1,000 years because we get into this debate who is Hindu, who is not. It's irrelevant.
Yeah. But I would add, it's true what you're saying, but let's not use the word educated. Even if you are not educated, you can be conscious. You understand? Because our educated people were the ones, at least in Bengal, which I call one of the Communist Party of India, I call it Communal Party of India. All the educated people, they are not talking about their parents being killed.
So my point, that's why I said educated. I'm sorry, I disagree with that a little bit. Because somebody mentioned elites.
Yeah.
The elites became elite because they knew English. And the Brits taught them something. And they had a slavish history behind them. So I think that needs to change.
Yeah, one thing before I forget, I mentioned that in our YouTube channel, Ishpat 1947, you will see we have interviewed over a dozen Kashmiri, we call Hindus or Pandits. It's there, how they were forced out of their home, how they survived or not survived. We have a couple of books there. So take there, and I'm coming back. I mentioned how difficult it is for raising money. In the last 30 years, for example, my wife and I and my son, wherever it's possible, we hand deliver these newsletters. Because each newsletter, for example, these days costs 65 cents, and that savings is tuition for 2 boys or girls in India or Bangladesh. It converts to almost 80 rupees takas in Bangladesh, 50, and public schools, their tuition is 25, 30, 35 rupees. So our friends tease us that you have graduated many students just because you hand delivered these things. So again, can be done, but it's not easy. But yeah, sorry, I'll come.
Okay, I was just going to ask, my name is Sharad. I was going to ask that at the beginning of your lecture, you mentioned the word fatalistic. So do you think that fatalism derived from slavery in Hindus? I distinctly remember you mentioning that word.
Yes. Yeah, Hindus, we always say, in Bengali, we say, it was written in my forehead, Kapalati, that forehead. So it makes us very fatalistic. Having said that, I will also mention that India is the only indigenous culture to survive in the world. Rest of them were converted to Christianity, Islam or Buddhism or whatever. Part of that is also because of fatalism, which we do not like. That is to say, your parents are killed, you say, oh, it was in my forehead, we didn't. So, otherwise, you have to really struggle why India survived and Africa, rest of Asia, South America, North America didn't survive that indigenous religion. So, you don't have to agree, but more and more I thought that's the two sides of this thing. Yes. Your name?
My name is Srini Raghavan.
Okay.
What you mentioned is 100% true. And if you consider 2,000 years of history, and all the cultures that survived before Christianity or Islam, they have been polytheistic and culturally very cousin-like cultures of peoples, right? They lost everything. And their culture, their gods, their epics. We are probably the only epic living culture today surviving. And these people have lost their ancestors, hate their own ancestors, call them heathens, call them heretics, call them kafirs. And whether or not, everything, their good and bad depended on whether you accept my religion. My God is great God because I believe in it. This is the elephant in the room, which is not being called out.
Yeah.
Right?
True, I agree. Yes. At the same time, I would add that at least Christianity, after Reformation and after Enlightenment, they have changed a lot more. That is to say, they are more tolerant, more acceptable. That's why my Christian minister friend, after 2021 Durga Puja Pogrom in Bangladesh, in New York, she energized 29 churches to pray for saving of Hindu lives in Bangladesh. Whereas I couldn't energize 29 Hindu temples in New York to do that. So yes, that's tolerant. That's why even Christianity allowed your identity, that is to say, even name or surname and all that. Whereas Islam has done a great job in terms of spreading from Morocco to Indonesia by wiping out individual's identity. So that's why in Bangladesh, when I go, people know me. When the Muslims come, when I say, what was your ancestors' name or home? Because their conversion started only 500 years. Most of them said, we don't know. So they are successful in changing the people's identity, bringing Arabic identity, as opposed to Christians who are in Europe, of course, as you know, it has become a lot more tolerant.
Sachi, it looks like Mamta ji has a question, and then Anand ji will come to you.
Okay.
Namaste. My name is Mamta. Just now you said that they saved Hindus and temples, right? So I wonder, is there saved Hindus and the temples are still remained as the temples and Hindus,
Where?
or they have been converted?
Where?
The one you said, the Christian Friends or Christian Missionary.
No. Those are Christian churches.
Yeah. So did they save those Hindus? Are those still Hindus?
No. She's not asking conversion. They are saying at every prayer, before the prayer and at the end of the prayer, they are asking for protection of Hindu minorities in Bangladesh.
Right. After protecting. So what is their current situation? Are they still Hindus? Or they are
Where?
In Bangladesh.
Oh, Bangladesh, of course, you saw all these pictures. So that is,
the question is very specific to the.
But this is in New York. New York, they are praying in the church that people want to protect Bangladeshi Hindus.
It's just a prayer. They're just praying for that. There's no real action as such.
But I think, Sachi, the context maybe needs to be clarified. You talked about certain temple, right? A couple of temples that your organization has helped restore and improve, right? I think that the question is related to the temples, right, Mamtaji?
Yes, and they said like the Christian ministers have prayed for them, they protected them. So when they protected, after protection, what happened?
No, it was just a prayer.
Prayer that they be protected, that they remain safe. They didn't physically do anything.
No. But on the other hand, our organization is a secular organization. We did not go building any temple. Those that are done or being done right now are done individually by us. So not through Probini Foundation, not through Partition Project. So if you want to help us, do help us directly to us, or I can give you the name of the monk where you should send the money. So to build this temple, because we have to raise about $15,000.
So Anji, you had a question?
No, he has a question.
I have a question for you, sir. So you showed a picture where in 1971 there was a New York Times post which talked about 100,000 people being exterminated or killed. But if you look at New York Times today, or if you look at any of the Western print media today. Why has that tectonic shift happened? I mean, they seem to be victim shaming more than calling out injustice where it's actually happening.
But I would argue that it has always been there. You saw maybe one or two those things, but it should have gone for 9 months when they were killing us. So one or two. By the way, I myself, I used to read New York Times. I just read that article. But I found the news so racist that I did write a letter to the owner, and they have many editors, the chief editors, and showed how in 1991 pogrom, how 1992 pogrom, how 2000 pogrom in Bangladesh, they didn't write anything. In 2021 Durga Puja pogrom, they didn't even have a footnote. I said, why our life do not matter to you? I wanted to be on the record that they are a really racist guy. Because if in India there's a Muslim girl who was very happy that India lost against Pakistan for a whatever game, I don't know. There was a half-page article. But when our 349 90s temples were destroyed, we don't have a footnote. There's a YouTube, you can go, they're showing that a priest is being hacked to death. These days you can do this. So I did cite those things, and because I follow, I said, this is what you have done, why is this racism? Not that they will change, but at least I want to be on record. By the way, when I write, other people get copies. For example, I sent it to your State Department, American Human Rights Watch. Many of you think it doesn't help, but in my case, at least that's what I could do. I could be on the record. Maybe 50 years down the road, somebody would have written something, somebody would find out. Because unless we protest, actually this year during the 21 pogrom, Bangladeshi Hindus and with others demonstrated in front of New York Times office, but they didn't write two lines of that. So
Anandji, you had a question?
Yeah, so one thing is, at least for me, when I was in India, I never really learned some of the basics of what made me change my mind, right? Like when you are in India, there's a certain kind of imposed thing on your head. For example, that's a simple thing, calling the Muktis inside the temple as idols in English, right? That's what you see everybody around you do, so you do that. And then only later I learned that it's a very derogatory word used by monotheistic religions to destroy and so on, right? So part of it is when you want to change such a huge mass of people out of ignorance, essentially they've been under, I would call it as intellectual slavery also for many generations. It's a gargantuan task. Even taking 1% out of
Sure. No question.
How would you, or what do you think is the best way to go for it?
What you are doing is the best way. That means each individual has to do their part. I have no solution per se. I have done what I think I could do. And each individual, we are not dictators, cannot change this pluralistic, tolerant ideal. You understand? But it changes little by little. As I mentioned before, I have bad habit of writing. 1 second, I will come to it. So 2 years ago or something, in West Bengal, by the way, West Bengal in 1990s, 90% of the seats were controlled by Congress party. Fine, I have no, there's another party thing. But in 2001 or 20, I forget, Modi went to Kolkata and then named Calcutta Port after Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. So, and this guy, Ashin Chakraborty, CPM councillor assemblyman from Jadavpur constituency. If you know Jadavpur is probably 90% refugee area. So I'm cursed that he is a communal person and all this kind of thing. Then I wrote the letter cursing that if he is a communal, why don't you go back to your homeland and take 90% of the people? They are all atheists. Back to your homeland, just like Palestinians, Jews, and Irish and other people have done. I didn't get it, and I wrote, today if West Bengal's name is changed as Shama Prasad, even then we will not have done enough to thank him. Because if West Bengal was not there, we will not have a place to stay. That's what happened to Sindhis in India, you know. So I added something. And that latest copy got Chief Minister, Governor, Home Minister, newspapers. And then, within 2 or 3 weeks after I wrote, apparently that guy went to the assembly and says, we, the communists, also participated in Bengal partition. We voted for partition of Bengal because at that time there's a vote as in the Bengal assembly. In West Bengal side, every Hindu, including 2 communists, Jyoti Basu and Ratanlal Brahman, both voted for partition. But they all censored this for a long time. Apparently he did. I don't know, but one of the guys whom I have ever seen was in Canada, a doctoral student. He writes to me, Uncle, most likely for your letter, he went and apologized there. Now she is lost. So, yes.
One interesting thing is that, so you have been in the US for 50 years around, right? And it's interesting that instead of realizing the terror, Islamic terror, which US has been heard with, there is a talk, so many talks and events going on for Hindu terror. How does the American society gets converted to more utilize or to be more closer to Islamic terror rather than what you call talking about Hindu terror?
Many things. One is that as I mentioned, you have to. It's my take that you have to realize that the world runs on a pluralistic mode, meaning if there is anything to do with Islam, let's say, 40 nations, even if there is a lie, 40 nations come together. If there is an oppression of Christians, most Europe or America and other people would come. I approve that. And if it is oppressive of atheists, the communists, it's not just China, but Cuba and other Russia, they come together. For India is the only monotheistic, pluralistic, indigenous country. So there is no international group to support. And that is very vital. That's why you have to remember 3 million people were killed in Bangladesh by Islamic Republic of Pakistan's army. Not one has been arrested. Not one has been in prison. Not only that, I mentioned there that UK, all Muslim majority nation, even US, Canada, have sheltered this mass murder. And they are returning them back. Partly because these Muslim majority nations have a lot of money. We need them. That is the real politics. Bangladesh is still asking US to return back one of their mass murderers. But this one was mostly with the Bangladeshi founding father. Also, Canada has one minister, one guy who proudly said, oh, I murdered. Yes, he's sheltered there. Why? And that's also, I do not expect, depend on India, I should not, I do not want to. It's like people like you and me should demand. Because when one nation demands, it becomes part of the international politics. when you and I depend, it comes from the grassroots.
To put it in a context, this is a clash of cultures. See, on one side, we have an extremely dominant, authoritarian, collective, congregational faiths. They operate in one way. It's all prophetic. What I say is the final say, and everybody else is wrong. And these are organized, and these are governments, and it's all top-down. Ours is decentralized, spiritually individualistic, and definitely not congregational at all. Right? And there is absolutely no way to oppose and fight back if one is coming down like a tsunami, and everybody else on this side is like ants. Where is the
No, I have no solution. But all I would say that may be true. But as long as you are focused, in my experience I found that. Because when I started in New York itself, people threatened me. People wrote garbage. In radio they wrote garbage, all kinds of things. In one paper, Bengali paper, they wrote, I don't even have a high school diploma. But when they realized that I'm not going to give up, I got it. No, I'm not going to. Yeah, once I was sent a death threat. But do you think I'm going to stop? No. And as I said, in Bangladesh or Pakistan, we never gave up our identity. And I never were afraid of Muslims, because I'm very fortunate to find quite a large number of secular tolerant Muslims. They have come and stayed in our home. We have been housed. First time I landed in Bangladesh, it was a Muslim gentleman I met a few hours here in the US. He comes to the airport and takes me to their home. So you have that, and we were not able to cultivate those things. But it is a difficult fight. And again, I do not represent India or India government. I fight for what I think is my right and what I think is best way to defend.
Sorry, real quick, let me do a quick time check. We have about 5 more minutes to go. So let's ask questions in 5 minutes after that.
Yes, my friend.
So you mentioned your secular Muslim friends, right? You mentioned. So what are those secular Muslim? Even I have secular Muslim friends, right? But I don't think they're doing enough to cut down on this, Hindu phobia kind of thing, the things in the universities, our communities, nowhere, right? We all talk about secular Muslim friends, other friends, but I don't think anything is happening with that.
Yeah. But listen, many of them are doing at their own risk, though. I have a friend, Sharia Kobi, for example, he was almost killed. He was going in a car and with some Hindus and other Muslims to North Bengal to protect Hindus, not Bangladesh. And he was shot, his car was driven into a hole. He spent almost 4 or 6 months, I forget, into in the Delhi Indian Institute of Medical Science. So there are others who are killed. So in Bangladesh, these atrocities are printed in Bangladesh. Their editors of the papers are Muslim. But in India, we are not doing this. So whom should I blame if I have to? Those who are taking this risk and doing this, or at last, no. I give credit to those who are doing it, and unless we other people are with them. I have a guy who came to my office in New York, in university office, and on that day I was having a pork sandwich, and Muslims do not eat pork and all that. But he says, Dada means older brother. Dada, I want to eat pork sandwich. So I bought his pork sandwich. So what I'm saying,
there are people, and those are the
very small percentage. That's not helping.
True. But that's why I
When they
say
are amongst their Hindu kind, they won't even talk about it.
Correct. So that's the thing. I grew up in Hyderabad, Malakpet area, which is like mix up, right? So we've seen that when things happen, it's always against us, right? The people that we get things.
I agree.
Nobody comes out and says we'll protect
no,
you.
who should I blame? That at least you mentioned small, true. At least in their papers in Bangladesh they're printing it. On the other hand, is West Bengal or Tripura or Delhi or Hyderabad papers are not printing. Whom should I blame? Those minority who is taking their own risk, or those people who can write without any problem. So this is the contradiction, and I have written about, I find, which is not acceptable to me. It's another, I call it another form of racism. Sorry.
So I think that's probably the last question. And then
The other point is, again, is more of an observation.
You have a strict divide or a hierarchy of journalism, and I do follow multiple news outlets, and I'm just going to brand a couple of them, call them name out, right? BBC, the New York Times, a few of them, there is a strong slant or a leaning against Hindus on anything and everything that they write. Right? Whether it is true, false, whatever it is, there is a way to twist it and write it as, oh, it is Hindus are violent or oppressive, that's slant. How do we as conscious people, how do we, fight?
I have no solution, but what I have done, what I feel I have won in many cases, do write. It takes time, but not write to the only one person. That is when I write to BBC. I just wrote about this recently, about this Modi thing, and I wrote to them, you're writing about this, no problem, but I have real problem for you that the Hindu lives do not matter. Because right at the beginning you mentioned 59 mothers and babies were born to death. That's it. You are interviewing other people. Why didn't you interview those whose husbands and other fathers who were born to death? So all I'm saying is we cannot keep, I do not at least. It takes time, and because you need to find those addresses and then send those letters. So yes, and so that's all I say. If you all write, let's say 100 letters, 1,000 letters, I will tell you it is going to have effect. I do not send emails because, as I said, I receive hundreds of emails, 90% I don't even know. Do not have time.
So I think, Anandji, let me just pause here because I think clearly this Q&A session could go on for another half an hour. And that's fine. We have Sachi ji here until 8:45, okay? But some of us have to sort of clean up the room. So what I would say is maybe if you guys, Sachi ji, if you can go in the corner, Anandji has some questions, I'm sure others have.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, oh sorry. And Venkatji is going to do a quick word of thanks. But keep your hand questions there, okay? Because we still have him for another half an hour.
So just one final comment. Just to
Okay, I let them do it, I'll come and stand and you can talk.
So one model, positive model.
Okay, go on. You have the last word. Please go.
Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah.
That is the organization, Jewish organization,
right,
of primarily lawyers that went after every anti-Jewish statement and everything that was done, and they were worked on it systematically over a decade. That is the model we should follow, at least in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. So we will work with you on that one, Anandji. But again, sorry.
Yeah, feel free to continue after the discussion. I'll just do a small word of thanks. Definitely this was a very eye-opening presentation, at least for me. We have read about this partly in history. We have heard here and there, but through pictures, through words, from first hand, it's really moving. And I really thank Dr. Sachi for doing this presentation for us. And his bravery, his persistence, and his generosity in actually going and meeting the appropriate families there is really commendable, and I think we all should give a big hand for that.
Not me, my family, my wife, my son and daughter, they all came with me. That also helped, because a lot of times when you have kids, other kids want to play. And since we do not believe in class or caste, so we mix with anybody. We call any older person uncle or any, So thank you very much. And thank you very, very much for listening, because this, to me, it's very learning experience for me. And in my next projects, probably I'll include your contribution to it. Thank you.
All volunteers who have organized this, and special thanks to Jignesh Patel ji. I don't know if he's here, but for samosas, he's not here. So thank you very much. And please feel free to continue the discussion. I think this is a good start.
Yeah, you can walk over to the board or but we'll wrap up here.
This is 24, right? March 24, right? 24, yeah. Yes. Connect with us, please give your address and I think everybody.
We'll send it to